Good morning, all. Thank you for joining us. Apologies for the late start. We just had some technical difficulties beginning the presentation. If you bear with me for a few more minutes, we will get the presentation up on the screen and get started. Thank you. Be patient. We'll be with you shortly. Sorry, and thank you again for being patient. Let us begin the presentation. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can follow along. So please sit up, pay attention. We are about to begin. So thank you for joining us for our fifth webinar in commemoration of International Education Week. South Africa, in terms of students studying in the United States, is seeing an increase for the fifth year in a row. We saw a 6.8% increase of South Africans studying in the United States on the previous year. So we've gone from about just over 1,900 students to just over 2,000 students. So we're very, very proud of that. About 57% of those are undergraduate students, another 27% graduate, with a smattering of non-degree students, as well as optional practical training, which is students who are studying or doing 1 year of work experience in the United States after completing their degrees. So the purpose of today's webinar is to go over writing admissions essays, and to give basic overview and tips for both undergraduates and graduates as they look at writing either their personal statements as undergraduates or their statements of purpose as a graduate student. And as you may recall, graduate students in the United States are students that have completed their undergraduate degrees and are looking to pursue master's or PhD level studies in the United States. If I did not say before, my name is Claire Powell. I'm the Education USA advisor based at the US Consulate General here in Johannesburg, South Africa. And the portfolio or the program that I manage within my office is the Education USA program. Education USA is a US State Department supported program, and the aim for Education USA is to assist international students and even US citizens living abroad navigate the process of applying to US higher education institutions. We are there as a resource, as a reference, as a guide to applying to these institutions. Should a student approach us or be eligible to do so. And one of the key components of the US higher education systems, as many of us know, is that they don't just look at the quantitative side, your marks and your test scores for university admissions, that there is this massive qualitative element that many of the universities look at, which includes reference letters as well as admission essays that indicate to departments and international admissions offices a little bit more about you, kind of what's your X factor, what makes you stand out from all the other amazing students. Is there something unique and different about you? And so the essay is one of the most crucial tools in them assessing this. So that's what we're going to concentrate on today. So some 2 questions to answer for yourself before you start this process. Why do you want to study at a particular university? And why should that university want you to study there? Okay. So in some cases, you'll have general applications where you can only do 1 essay. And you'd have to fill that out for multiple institutions, so you would have to be quite general. But in most cases, universities are going to ask you very specific essay questions, basically trying to find out why have you chosen them out of the many thousands of institutions that there are in the United States to apply to them particularly. So it's very important for you to understand this, and this is why when we spoke in the general overview presentations about fit, this is where this can really come to light, is if this university is a good fit for you, and if you're a good fit for the university. By answering these 2 questions, it can be very clear whether or not a student has worked and done their homework in their research and picked this particular university or program correctly. So, of course, you need to understand and emphasize with the reader who's going to be reading your applications. Generally, they're going to be American, they're going to be educated, and they're going to be having to read thousands of essays. So you need to grab their attention right off the bat, because they're going to be tired of reading essays when it's application reading time. So what do you want to accomplish with your essay? What do you want to convey to the international admissions officers or the admission officers or the actual department? What do you want to get across to those individuals? Typical questions for applicants would be, what is your favorite or least favorite book and why? And this is what an undergrad applicant can expect to be asked to answer, questions such as these, your favorite book, what do you think has been the most important social political movement of the 20th century, or even now as we're going into the 21st century? Um, tech development, that has made the greatest impact on human society. Besides the computers, it states there what technological developments has had the greatest impact. Do not make a book report of this or research a political movement or tech development. You do not want to make a long factual report on these. It's basically, these are showing insight into your personality and so on. So as we'll see on the next slide, in other words, what does this particular subject mean to you? Why is it important to you? And how do you feel about it? That's it. Okay, so essentially what the admissions officers are trying to get from this is, who are you? Tell us about yourself. So it's not showing them an experience, but telling them how it's affected you and how it's made you go. So the purpose of an undergraduate essay, so you've got your mark sheet, your test scores, your extracurricular activities, recommendations. So these are facts about you. An essay reveals more about you, basically who you really are, in a fresh and unpretentious way. What are you passionate about, where do you see yourself going, and so on and so forth. Okay. With regards to a graduate essay, it's different. The university expects you to be developed within your field of study by now. They want to know exactly what it is you plan to do academically and with your career. So you need to be exact. You need to tell them why you believe the institution will be able to help you achieve the goals that you have set for yourself on a personal and academic basis. And this requires you to be familiar with the courses that are being taught and the faculty and their areas of expertise and research. So, it goes back to when I said in the general graduate session, it's the importance of showing, maybe that you've read some scholarly journals and you understand the research that's being done is very important. Making, individual essays for each place you apply to, individual essays to each place you apply to. None of them will be the same because your focus on each institution will vary. So no two departments will be exactly the same. Maybe they'll be concentrating on different areas of research. They'll have different professors. They might have even different makeups of what the actual degree will be teaching you. So, for instance, let's say, one program at X university will be more concentrated in the theory of the subject matter, where Y university will be more concentrated in the practical elements, a hands-on experience. So you must study your choices to be able to know why that program would be good for you, and you have to be exact. Not that it's not to say that's well ranked or it's famous. So you need to show your academic and your career goals, knowledge of the academic program again, reasons you've chosen it, and you need to have an indication of your intellectual curiosity, your motivation, persistence, and earnestness of your academic pursuits. Write individual statements for the different programs, focusing upon their individual uniqueness. So tips for a graduate application as well is you must research the programs. Be specific of each program and the staff teaching in that department, okay? Learn what the faculty member's personal focus of study or research has that closely matches what it is that you hope to learn more about. And this info is given on the university's website. Incorporate it into your essay and show that you know what you're talking about and that you know what the institution has to offer. Okay. What everyone should remember is that nothing works the first time. You're going to have to do multiple drafts of this. So you need to start early. You'll need to write, rewrite, edit, rewrite, start over, get input from others, but not too many, okay, because you don't want to lose your individual voice too. Don't throw something together at the last minute. Your essay will reflect the amount of time that you've put into it. So recap as it's listed on the screen. Nothing works the first time. Don't be afraid to start over if it's not working. Be honest, concrete, which also means concise and specific. Get others to read drafts. Some resources for undergraduate applicants. You could visit the College Board website. They have some free resources. Or you could go onto some of the individual university websites. We've put Carleton up here, where you could go and read their essay tips. Another one that I would highly recommend is a bloggist called The College Essay Guy, by the name of Ethan Sawyer. He writes a blog, and he also has a lot of free resources on his website that include, how to approach the Why Us essay, how to approach, say, the Common App essay that you would have to do as an undergraduate. All of these elements, and I think he puts it in a very real and practical way, as well as giving you exercises that help you think about topics that would be good to write. So I'd highly recommend that you check him out too, or follow him on social media. So again, The College Essay Guy. For graduate applicants, here are some resources. So Yale University Advice for Students, so fellowship application essays and advice. Or you could also check out e-education at psu.edu. So writing personal statements online, that, all your statements of purpose can be very useful. Of course, you can check out our website, so educationusa.state.gov, to find an advisor near you. Advisors also have some tips and advice. They might have books and resources that would be of good assistance to you through this process. So I'm going to move on a little bit more, just to show you another presentation that I think will be of use. But this is going to be directed more towards undergraduates. So graduates, as I said before, is very specific. You need to talk about your program, the program that you want to go to, your career aspiration. So it's very precise and specific. Outline more as study objectives, but I want to speak about the nuances a little bit more of undergraduate essays. Okay. Okay, so your perfect essay. So I actually want to make sure that I've actually shared the screen with you guys and we're not in limbo here. Okay, perfect. So this is going to kind of have some humor within it, but how to write your perfect undergraduate essay and how to be true to yourself. Okay. Where do students go wrong in writing an undergraduate admissions essay? Common mistakes, okay, we'll go over that. Doing the unthinkable, and how to write the best essay you can. So looking at the question, answering the question that's asked of you, keeping it simple, paying attention to requirements and the structure that it should have. So common essay mistakes. So the most common mistake, not answering the actual question. Okay, questions are different for a reason. Universities want to see how serious you are about the institution or about, tertiary education in general. If your essay answers another school's question, they can tell. All right, so also be very aware of that. Setting yourself apart the wrong way. Okay, so common essay mistakes. I want to apply to an awesome university. Your essay shouldn't mention how bad you want to go to outstanding university. Okay, happens more often than you think in when you're cutting, especially when you're cutting and pasting and using the same essay for multiple schools. On Tuesday, we did a presentation with Bentley University, and the admissions officer, Suzanne, had specifically mentioned kind of how often, surprisingly, how often she had seen that as people had not read or understood, and how many times the wrong university's name was in an essay for, Bentley University, which can be highly embarrassing for you, and probably a very simple mistake that could have been avoided. And it could honestly be the make or break of whether you get into a university or not. Another common mistake, using big words for the sake of using big words. So like basically taking synonyms of thesaurus and just using words that are not in your own voice. So university is not expecting you to write like Shakespeare. If you write like Shakespeare, when they meet you in person, they're going to want you to speak like that too. The purpose of an admissions essay is to use your authentic voice so that they feel like they're getting to know you as a 17, 18-year-old teenager. Okay. Using big words can make you look foolish. It's my greatest dream to come and study at a university. It's my paramount fantasy to originate in scholarship at your academia. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous. So just be very careful with what you do. Other common mistakes: writing more than is requested and not sticking to the word limits, writing less than requested. So they generally will give you a minimum or a maximum number to write, sounding like a robot, and sometimes being too honest, a borderline controversial with your writing. Doing the unthinkable, so absolute no's, having someone else write your admissions essay. Your authentic voice will be lost, and admissions officers can definitely tell, especially if you're having someone who does this for multiple people. You also run the risk of an admission officer being able to tell that it's not authentic, especially if multiple students have the same type of essay, and they can tell when it's plagiarized. So the consequences can be dire, and you have to be warned about that. So how to write your best essay. So some tips and guidance. Tip number 1, start with the question, not the answer. Read the question over a few times before you begin to write your answer. If you are unsure of what you're being asked, contact the university or school directly. Know where you are going with your essay before you start writing it. Figuring it out as you go can also be a little bit problematic for you. Tip 2, answer the question. It is easy to get lost in your own writing. After each sentence, ask yourself, how is this helping me answer the question? If the answer is it's not, then you may want to get rid of the sentence or rewrite it. Many admissions questions are complex and are really a combination of questions. Okay, you'd be surprised, and I've heard many admissions officers say this, how much time they spend putting together these questions for exactly this reason. They want you to answer the question correctly. While you don't need to touch on all aspects, focusing solely on one aspect can limit the effectiveness of your essay. Many questions will offer you potential avenues to consider or discuss. You don't have to use these, but they can provide you a good foundation to structure your essay. How to write your best essay. Keep it simple. Tip number 3. Concise sentences are key to a good essay. Trying to fit too much into one sentence can confuse the reader. If you are unsure about a word's meaning and that it works well in a sentence, you really should maybe look to use another word that has a better conveyancy of your point. Okay, know the requirements. An amazing 2,000-word essay is a bad essay if the requirement was between 500 and 1,000 words. Inability to follow basic instructions outweighs, the greatness of your work. The best essay is an essay that shows you can do what you're actually being asked to do. Okay. Tip number 5, write to your audience. Again, American, educated, and they're tired of reading essays. So what I said beginning of the previous slides. Other helpful hints: take breaks. It's not a race. You're not going to be able to do this all in one sitting. Come back to the essay. Are you well rested? Have someone else proofread it, not write it for you. Whenever possible, put your heart into it. As I said before, one of my favorite resources for writing college essays is the college essay guy, Ethan Sawyer, because he does exercises like the feelings and needs exercise, which really does put your heart out and makes you very vulnerable, which allows you to really get into your head and write a good essay. So write about what interests you, not about what you think admissions committees want to read. Okay, believe me, they've read it all. Typical questions for undergrad applications: what is your favorite or least favorite book and why? Why do you think, this is much like we went through before. what is the most important social, political movement of the 20th century, or what, historical figure would you like to meet or have do a conversation at your university, technological developments and the impact that they've had. So again, the real question is, in other words, what does it mean to you? Why is it important to you? So you can see the emphasis on the you part. How do you feel about it? Tell us about yourself. Okay, so what admissions officers like to see in personal essays: clarity and originality of thought, maturity, consistency in use of your language, okay, not moving around and not making sense, demonstration of your writing skills, ability to organize your thoughts, a distinct beginning and an ending, and a window into the applicant's personality, values, and character. So a structure. You should have an introduction, a catchy first sentence, and a main statement. Remember, they're reading thousands of essays, so you want to hook them onto your essay immediately. First idea, second idea, third idea. So support an illustration of the main statement, conclusion and analysis, restates the main point, and a catchy ending that relates to the beginning. So beginnings. A good beginning should grab the reader's attention, make the reader want to keep reading. A bad beginning will use a cliche, like the grass is always greener on the other side, or make the reader think, do I have to read this now? Brainstorm, okay? For instance, my name is Anna. I was born in Uppington on the 3rd of August. I think American literature is fascinating. Being a student in the US has been a lifelong goal for me, martial arts and medicine. My father got a watch just before he died. Up until age 6, I thought everybody grew up to be teachers. So these are very similar things that would happen in the feelings and needs exercise. So kind of what has happened to you, what feelings did you have of it, and what needs were generated from it. Endings. A good ending leaves the reader satisfied, analyzes the main statement, and gives the reader something to remember. A bad ending is abrupt. It uses a cliche again, and also doesn't restate the main idea that you mentioned in the introduction. Endings. So some examples. And while I'm no longer that 6-year-old child, I'm still filled with the wonder and curiosity, skills I'm sure I'll need as a doctor. And that's why I want to study at Duke University. For all the reasons, I believe I'm well prepared for my studies at Johns Hopkins University. Okay, so those are endings. Some clarity. Organization. Each paragraph needs clearly defined places in the essay's design. Transition. Readers must be able to follow the train of thought. And wording. No awkward or ambiguous words or sentences. Consciousness. Every word counts and must relate to the main idea. No wordiness or run-on sentences. No unnecessary details. Specifics instead of generalizations. So you must be concise with everything. Usage and style. It's very important that you use an active voice and energetic words rather than a passive voice. Okay. Variations in sentence length and structure. No tired and worn out expressions or cliches. No empty qualifiers, such as rather or somewhat. Like say, I'm amazing at something, not I'm really, use short, punchy words. Picture words, metaphors, examples, and details. And in principle, show, don't tell. Okay? Show the reader what you mean. Don't just tell them. Show the impact that it's had on you. Show why it's of interest to you. Competitiveness, assertive language as I will rather than I, hesitant language such as I hope. Upbeat and positive attitude, confidence and humble pride in one's ability and accomplishments. I know sometimes that for us as South Africans, it's very hard to sell ourselves in this manner, but believe me, it will make for a very, very good essay and a much more impactful one. Correctness. Be mindful of your spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Even if you have someone read over that the structure is okay and doesn't change your voice, maybe you want to get your English teacher to look at the grammar and punctuation, and not necessarily comment on the essay, because it might be very different from your school English essays. But the spelling, grammar, and punctuation can be very important. Format and neatness can also play into it. resources, as I said before. So College Board, that Carleton website, and I also on the slide I have put the College Essay Guys website, so the collegeessayguy.com. Okay. So I'm going back to the screen. I don't know that anyone is with us, or if anybody has any questions. I apologize again for the late start. It's never necessarily a great thing. It can create some issues. So I just wanted to be mindful of that. And thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and your journey with us through these application presentations and webinars over the last few days. And please join us this afternoon at 3 p.m. South African time for a presentation in regards to student visas and the process that's involved with that. We'll be joined by, should I say, a consular officer who will be speaking about the essay process and answering any questions that you may have about student visas in the United States. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.